Boris Johnson on the brink. Men outnumbered women in HIV infection. KUCHING tops the list with HIV-positive cases. Those are the headlines for tonight. I'm Handy Gui and this is TVS Nightline. The plight of UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson's government dominated British newspaper headlines on Wednesday, July 6, amid the resignations of several of UK's top ministers. Johnson's finance and health secretaries quit on Tuesday, July 5th, along with a number of junior ministers, saying they could no longer stay in the wake of the latest of a series of scandals to have blighted his administration in recent months.
Johnson will face questions in Parliament, followed by a grilling by senior lawmakers on Wednesday, with his premiership on the brink. A growing number of lawmakers in his ruling Conservative Party have said the game is up for Johnson, but he showed his determination to remain in office by appointing his Chief of Staff, Steve Barclay, as his next Health Minister and Nadhim Zahawi as the new Finance Minister. Both had formerly publicly supported Johnson during his months of scandal. Johnson's leadership has been mired in scandals and missteps over the last few months, with the Prime Minister fined by police for breaking COVID-19 lockdown laws and damning report published about the behavior of officials at his Downing Street office who breached lockdown rules. Meanwhile, Londoners offered a mixed verdict on Johnson as he attempted to hold on to his premiership following the resignation of ministers who said he was not fit to govern. Although some said time had run out for Johnson, others cited his handling of Brexit, the COVID-19 pandemic, and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine as points in his favour. A former supporter of Johnson and staunch Conservative voter, 59-year-old construction project manager Joe Parker, said the government was in disarray and said Boris has got to go.
Depressed, I think, is the only thing I can say, really. It's just, they just don't seem to know what they're doing and disarray. Boris has got to go.
Meanwhile, 54-year-old commodity trader Paul Hutchinson agreed, saying the Prime Minister had been wounded by the resignations and his character had proved to be his downfall.
No, so I think nothing's changed overnight. I think the loss of his support in the cabinet, I think, is really important. We need a very strong government right now. The cost of living, Ukraine. Yeah, I think he's done a good job on certain things, but his character, I think, has shone.
However, 54-year-old facilities manager Debbie Ling was among those who stayed loyal to Johnson.
Stay. And why do you think? Because he's had to deal with a lot of stuff that's been going on and everybody else walked away. So at the end of the day, I think a lot of people are good to criticise him, but let's see if they could do a better job.
The latest scandal saw Johnson apologising for appointing lawmaker Chris Pincher to a role involved in offering pastoral care and handling party discipline, even after being briefed that the politician had been the subject of complaints about sexual misconduct. Johnson, who won a huge parliamentary majority in the 2019 general election, survived a confidence vote of Conservative lawmakers last month, making him safe from another such challenge for a year, but some lawmakers are seeking to change those rules.
Men recorded a higher rate of contracting the HIV virus as compared to women. Statistics indicate that from 2015 to March 26, 2022, 2,382 HIV-positive cases were reported, which makes up 87.6%. Meanwhile, for acquired immune deficiency syndrome cases, men still top the table with 925 cases, or 84.6%.
Women, Childhood and Community Wellbeing Minister Datuk Sri Fatimah Abdullah said sexual transmitted disease, STDs, HIV and AIDS are among the issues that are focused under her ministry. She said the issue is among the 14 issues that are being highlighted under the Social Development Council through the ministry.
Dengan sebab itulah maka kita on our part kami bekerjasama kita di peringkat negeri ni kita menubuhkan satu pasukan strategik bagi menangani isu ini yang saya sebut tadi. Salah satu daripada 14 fokus kita isu sosial ialah yang berkaitan dengan sexually transmitted diseases ni So dengan Jabatan Kesihatan, kemudian di MPS kita sendiri dalam sesi randau.
Fatima said that the series will not only be limited to adults but also to younger people as well. She said this during the official launch of the Sunway Group and Malaysian AIDS Foundation MAF partnership of the Sunway Hope Borneo project at Teratak Kasih Tok Nan here on Wednesday, July 6. In 2017, an important milestone for HIV and AIDS response in Sarawak was met when the first ever halfway home and one-stop support center for people living with HIV was established by the Malaysian AIDS Foundation, MAF. The center was later renamed as Teratak Kasih Tok Nan in honor of the late Pahin Sri Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Adenan Satem, and it is instrumental in linking patients from rural Sarawak to life-saving treatments available at Sarawak General Hospital, SGH.
Now, a total of 2,720 people have tested positive for the HIV virus from 2015 to March 2022 in Sarawak. And of the total, KUCHING recorded the highest with 800 positive cases, or 29.4% of the cumulative figure.
The other 4 divisions identified to HIV cases in Sarawak are Miri, with 488 cases, or 17.95%, followed by Sibu, 454 cases, or 16.7%, Bintulu, 366 cases, or 13.5%, and Samarahan Division, with 143 cases, or 5.3%. During the same period, Sarawak registered a total of 1,093 acquired immune deficiency syndrome, or AIDS, cases, with Cebu recorded the highest at 243 cases, or 22.2%. This is followed by Miri with 236 cases, or 21.6%, Kuching 189 cases, 17.3%, Bintulu 177 cases, 16.2%, and Muka with 53 cases, or 4.8%.
Premier of Sarawak, Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg is currently in Singapore for a 5-day official visit to the Republic. The visit serves to study the process that will lead to the establishment of Sarawak's very own sovereign wealth fund. Abang Johari led the Sarawak delegation comprising Deputy Premier Datuk Amar Douglas Uga Mbas and Datuk Amar Awang Tengah Ali Hassan.
Early this morning, the delegation met with officials of the Government of Singapore Investment Corporation, GIC, one of the 3 investment entities in Singapore that manage the government's reserves. GIC was established in 2001 to manage Singapore's reserves for long-term returns as the world's first non-commodity-based sovereign wealth fund. The Premier has indicated that the ordinance for setting up and governing the proposed Sarawak Sovereign Wealth Fund will be tabled in the State Legislative Assembly Dun in November and is expected to come into operation in 2024. Earlier, in May this year, the Premier made a similar visit to Norway to study the operation and governance of Norway's Sovereign Wealth Fund. During the current trip, Abang Johari is also set to call on the Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance Lawrence Wong, as well as other senior ministers, including the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan. Abang Johari is scheduled to return on July 9th.
Now, traditional Chinese medicine TCM has evolved over thousands of years, involving the use of various psychological and physical approaches, as well as herbal products to address health problems. Deputy Premier of Sarawak, Dr. Sim Kui Hian, hopes that all hospitals in Sarawak can conduct a research on TCM and provide more TCM services in the future.
These medicines, right, or complementary medicines, has been practiced for thousands of years, and what the way they practice is years of wisdom and secrets and knowledge and cultures being passed down. It's different from Western medicines that we all well known of. It's in the way that the methodologies that we are doing. The Western medicines, we do a lot of what I call trials, research, and we go to every other countries, every other centers, and say, can we produce the same results?
According to Sim, the Sunway Traditional and Complementary Medical Center and the Sunway Fertility Center, established in Kuching recently, has the ability to meet the medicinal needs of Sarawakians. Dr. Sim, who is also the Minister of Public Health, Housing and Local Government, also praised the initiative of Sunway Medical Group, SHG, for expanding their medical service to Sarawak. He said the establishment of the Fertility Center will be able to assist couples who have been longing to start a family of their own.
50,000 babies born a year, and Sarawak government has basically said if every baby born, we give 1,000 ringgit, and we give the mother 450 ringgit. But last year, COVID-19, we only got 20,000 born. Despite all the time that they have, despite the government give them incentive, but it's not as straightforward. But there was a small group of them who have issues about the fertility and need treatments, need scientific treatment, need Western medicines, need integrated traditional methods. And I want to thank Sunway for having the second fertility centers in Malaysia, in Kuching. It's a testimony of your commitment and your support for us in Sarawak.
Sunway TCM Center and Sunway Fertility Center are subsidiaries of Sunway Medical Group, one of the leading integrated health services network in Malaysia.
Tanjung monies will play a vital role in Sarawak's food security ecosystem, as tensions over the price of goods are growing by the day. Held as one of the biggest halal hubs in Malaysia, Tanjung monies will be focusing on several food items such as pineapples, bananas and various fishery products, so that Sarawak is able to sustain itself as soon as possible in the event of an unforeseen food crisis.
Food security is actually the most important issue that we need to address and how that we translate, how that we want to mitigate and implement these things so that it will not be what you call it, a continuous problem we have to raise every now and then. Rice, I mean, we only about 70 to 60% reliant on rice. The Thai or the Vietnamese stop exporting, then we have problem. Same with animal feeds, which is a big problem. So it is a real problem that we need to address in the long run.
Talib spoke during a press conference after gracing the launching ceremony of the Tanjung Manis Master Plan Lab Series 3 held at Waterfront Kuching on Wednesday, July 6. Other locations identified to be part of the food security ecosystem are the hinterlands of Tanjung Manis, including Serikai, an area known to be Sarawak's fruit basket, and Muka. In order to address the problem holistically, Talib said his ministry will collaborate not only with the Agriculture Department but with other key industry players to further develop Tanjung Manis into a bustling town.
Jadi, mun kita nak maju, everybody must play their role. Kita hanya 3 matlamat kita tadi lah. Economic prosperity, social stability dan environmental sustainability. Ya aja. So how we reach there is every one of you has play a role. Jangan mentingkan your own departmental pun interest.
Coming up right after the break, Gang 1 Kurus crippled. Convicted theft gets 6 years in jail. Right here on TVS Nightline, stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us. Now, police have crippled a vehicle theft syndicate with the arrest of 5 members of the Gang 1 Kurus. The syndicate allegedly targets Yamaha motorcycles and Proton Wira cars as they are in high demand in the neighboring country. Sarawak Police Commissioner Datuk Muhammad Azman Ahmad Sapri said the local suspects aged between 26 and 40 have been active in Kuching and Padawan since November 2021.
He confirmed that the police seized a total of 7 motorcycles and 3 cars.
Hasil tanggapan ini, pihak polis berjaya menyelesaikan 15 kes kecurian motosikal dan 3 kecurian kereta. Hasil siasatan juga mendedahkan kumpulan ini dikenali sebagai Gang 1 Kurus telah aktif sejak November 2021. Kumpulan ini dianggotai oleh 9 orang individu termasuk warga asing. Modus operandi sindiket ini mensasarkan lokasi sekitar bandaraya Kuching dan kawasan perumahan di daerah Padawan.
Muhammad Azman said police are still hunting down the remaining 4 suspects of the syndicate, which is believed to consist of 9 members, some of whom are foreigners.
Sindiket ini menggunakan alat pemutar skru yang telah diubah suai berbentuk T dan 1 master key serta beberapa alat perkakas yang lain untuk mencuri kenderaan.
An estimate of 150,000 ringgit losses incurred among the victims that were caused by this syndicate. The remanded suspects are being investigated under Section 379 of the Penal Code for committing theft of a motor vehicle.
The Kuching Sessions Court today sentenced Azrul Arshad to 6 years in prison and 4 strokes of the cane for his involvement in a snatch theft causing serious injury to a 36-year-old woman in Jalan Sultan Tengah on June 21st. The 28-year-old man pleaded guilty to the charge framed under Section 392 and 397 of the Penal Code.
Sessions Court Judge Muhammad Taufik Muhammad Yusuf sentenced Azrul to 6 years imprisonment with effect from June 26 and 4 strokes of the cane. On the same note, Sarawak Police Commissioner Datuk Muhammad Azman Ahmad Sapri also noted that the man was charged in court today.
Suspek telah dituduh pada hari ini dan telah dijatuhkan hukuman 6 tahun penjara.
He said this at a media conference on the development of the snatch theft case involving a 36-year-old victim on Wednesday. He added that the man has had prior criminal record under Section 457 and Section 379 of the Penal Code. On June 21st at 4:30 a.m., the victim was making her way to work on her motorcycle when the perpetrator, who was traveling in the same direction, committed the act of crime. This caused the victim to lose control of her machine and crashed before landing in a drain with fractures to her wrist and left finger.
A memorial site will be established at the Pahang Police Canine Unit to commemorate and celebrate dogs that died while serving the contingent. The memorial park will be set up at Alor Akar in Kuantan, where 2 police dogs have already been buried. According to Pahang Criminal Investigation Department Chief SAC Muhammad Yusri Othman, the beautification project of the memorial park is underway. The announcement was made following the death of Bad the Labrador on Monday afternoon at 3 p.m. due to aging. The black-colored canine was brought from Germany and was sent to Bukit Aman for training on November 8, 2008. During his service of 10 years, Bad the Labrador successfully busted 2 drug syndicates in 2012 and 2014. Bad was buried at the Memorial Park beside his comrade Bo, which died on September 19, 2020, also due to aging. Now, the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs KPD and HEP will intensify enforcement to curb the smuggling and misappropriation of subsidized cooking oil to neighboring countries. Its Minister, Dr. Sri Alexander Nantalinggi, admitted that the crime is rampant in states bordering neighboring countries, including Kedah, Kelantan, Sabah and Sarawak, due to the high price of the commodity on the global market.
Dan memang ada kes-kes berlaku di sempadan, iaitu dalam makluman kami adalah di Sabah dan Sarawak, sebab 2 negeri ini memang ada sempadan yang panjang lah bersama jiran kita, dan juga di Kelantan dan Kedah. Jadi 4 buah negeri ini ada berlaku penyeludupan ke 2 negara lah. Jadi setakat ini rampasan jumlahnya dah kita dapat nilai adalah 1.5 juta.
The ministry will continue to monitor and take action against those involved in the abuse of subsidized cooking oil. Apart from that, enforcement cooperation in the land and sea border areas between the police, army and customs was needed to thwart attempts to smuggle subsidized goods.
Sebab kalau kata di sempadan perairan, kami KPDHP ini kami tidak ada aset yang diperlukan macam bot, kita tak ada bot. Jadi sebab itu kita memerlukan bantuan daripada Navy dan daripada Polis Marine, APM dan polis dan tentera dan sebagainya. Custom juga akan bersama. Jadi ini untuk kami apakah ada sesuatu pasukan yang lebih mantap lah, lebih kukuh, lebih berkesan kita harapkan.
Earlier, Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob announced that the government will conduct an audit on 22 manufacturers and 305 packaged cooking oil repacking premises nationwide.
Now on to some global affairs. On Wednesday, July 6, people were being rescued from turbulent floods and inundated farmland after heavy rain hit southern China in the wake of Typhoon Chaba. A driver can be seen abseiling from a maroon vehicle to safety, while residents form a human chain to transport students from an inundated school, and families were rescued using an excavator across Henan province on Tuesday, July 5th. Village houses and farmlands were inundated by flood water in Shaoguan City in Guangdong province. Over 1,000 people were relocated, according to officials. In recent weeks, historic rainfall and flooding in southern China have destroyed property, paralyzed traffic, and disrupted the daily lives of millions. Extreme weather, including unusually heavy flooding, is expected to continue in China through August, as forecasters predicted last week. Desperate times call for desperate measures. A father had to hit his son in the dumpster to escape the horror of the mass shooting in Highland Park, Illinois, before going off to search for his wife and his other children, who fled the scene in a different direction. Though police have arrested the perpetrator, this year's July 4th had only brought trauma and fear to many Americans.
And we ran behind the building, and I put my son in a dumpster, and he sit there with his dog. And I went back to look for the rest of my family. I left him with someone there so that I can go back to get my phone and find the rest of my family, because they ran away also, and it was just horrible. I went back, there was a few people shot on the ground, and there was a little boy that was in one of the police officers' arms, and that was the worst experience ever.
Others are now concerned over the peace and safety the town had for as long as they could remember, especially when celebrating an occasion so significant as America's Independence Day.
Left Waukegan to come to Highland Park because it's a safe community. I grew up in the Highland Park area, and to experiment this on a holiday that means a lot to people because they go with their families and they attend.
According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 90% of the 30,000 population are white, and about a third of the population is Jewish. Debates about gun control will reignite following the mass shooting, but whether measures will be taken to prevent more shootings to occur are highly questionable. See the world closer with TVS as we bring you the latest news update both locally and internationally. Just a click away by heading on to our website at TVSTVMY or follow us on our social media platforms. That's all the time we have for TVS Nightline. I'm Handy Gui. Thank you for watching.